What's going on the Genesis stock market? Will the Gemini exchange go bankrupt? Troubles in Gemini exchange. We make everything clear. Let's dive into it. Will the cryptocurrency company Genesis, which suspended operations on November 16, go bankrupt? The company needs $1 million investment. The bankruptcy of the FTX exchange shook the entire cryptocurrency market. Many large companies faced liquidity crunch. One of them was the crypto lender Genesis. On November 16, Genesis paused client withdrawals on the lending side, citing abnormal withdrawal requests that exceeded available liquidity. Not long after, Gemini Exchange announced that it was pausing Gemini Earn withdrawals. It had announced that it was working with the Genesis team to get clients' funds back. After this situation that scared the market, companies shared explanations for Genesis. Several companies, including the Binance Exchange and Tether, said they were not affected by Genesis or Gemini Earn. Genesis faces liquidity and bankruptcy issues. On November 16, news emerged that Binance CEO CZ was interested in buying Genesis loan assets after Genesis suspends trading. On November 17, Genesis requested a $1 billion emergency loan. Genesis lending arm was forced to suspend withdrawals, allegedly because it was unable to secure $1 billion in new financing. But for now, Genesis says it doesn't plan to file for bankruptcy. According to a Bloomberg report on November 22, Genesis warned that it could go bankrupt without new financing. It has been claimed that Genesis will likely go bankrupt as it has trouble raising new capital following the FTX crisis. About half an hour after the news, late at night, the company announced that they were not planning anything like this in the near future regarding the risk of bankruptcy. Binance Exchange rejects Genesis offer. However, the company's difficulties in finding new capital continue. Cryptocurrency company Genesis has cut its investment target from $1 billion to $500 million after struggling to raise new capital. At the same time, according to a Bloomberg report, Genesis is in talks with travelers such as Binance and Apollo Global Management for new capital. However, Binance refuses to invest in Genesis. At the same time, the other alternative asset management company, Apollo, announced that it is very unlikely to invest in Genesis. Genesis is now seeking $500 million. If Genesis fails to raise the funds, we may see another bankruptcy event. Gemini working together with Genesis. According to the Q3 report, Genesis' $2.8 billion dead asset loans are unpaid. This is less than 10 billion maternity loans outstanding in Q2. However, less access to finance remains a primary concern for Genesis. The company must provide funds on its statements to finance these loans. The Gemini Win program and Win Circle are on two main points. Finally, Gemini made an announcement on November 22. The exchange announced that it is seeking a solution with Genesis and Digital Currency Group, DCG, to reactivate the Earn platform. Another major bankruptcy is imminent. It was noted that 145 people remained at Genesis, which laid off about 30% of its staff. $900 million of credit fight. It is stated that the decision of Digital Currency Group to liquidate its holdings of GBTC assets could start a new wave of collapse in the crypto markets. Digital Currency Group has decided to close its wealth management department, which is known to manage more than $3.5 billion in assets. According to the news of the Wall Street Journal, company officials decided to close the headquarters due to the state of the general economic environment, the long-lasting crypto winter, which deeply affected the industry. Digital Currency Group will liquidate its wealth management division as of January 31, 2023. Genesis can't get out of crisis. According to the news served by the Wall Street Journal, people who gave information about the latest situation said that Genesis laid off about 30% of its staff, while the company was considering filing for bankruptcy. As a result of the layoffs from different departments, it was informed that Genesis has 145 personnel. In addition, the company, consulting firm Moelis & Company. By agreeing with the company, he will receive professional support on how to continue in the future. This development also strengthened the rumors that the company will file for bankruptcy. Genesis came to the fore once again this week when Cameron Winklevoss, owner of US-based crypto exchange Gemini, got into a debt dispute with DCG CEO Barry Silbert. Gemini has a receivable of around $900 million from Genesis. Winklevoss claimed they were stalling and demanded payment from Genesis parent company DCG by January 8. Genesis is the other major crypto startup that has been hit hard by failing to collect its receivables, as it has commercial relationships with the bankrupt companies Alameda and Three Arrows Capital. The company has been trying to manage the crisis since November, but these developments indicate an increased likelihood of bankruptcy. Cameron Winklevoss openly blamed Genesis and DCG. Gemini co-founder Cameron Winklevoss has taken a stand against crypto investment firm Genesis and its parent company Digital Currency Group, DCG, for arranging a fraud claim against exchange users. According to Winklevoss' open letter published on Twitter on January 10, Genesis misrepresented its true financial position to Gemini, resulting in the loss of funds from approximately 340,000 customers. In the letter, Winklevoss put the blame on DCG CEO Barry Silbert, noting that the board should consider removing the executive before finding a way. My clients suspended $900 million in funds in their own account after Genesis terminated refunds, citing the effects of the FTX collapse. Winklevoss writes about CEO Barry Silbert. As long as Barry Silbert remains CEO of DCG, there is no way forward. He has proven unfit and unwilling to manage DCG and unable to find both a fair and reasonable settlement with creditors. Bitcoin billionaire seeks immediate dismissal of Barry Silbert. The Gemini founder added that with the new management at DCG, both Gemini and Genesis can find an out-of-court settlement that will result in a win-win situation for all parties involved. Since stopping withdrawals, creditors have sought a solution, and Winklevoss argues that DGC is not bona fide. Along this line, he published his first open letter arguing that Silbert's involvement in the case was marred by malicious distraction tactics. Therefore, DCG asked its founder to commit to resolving the fiasco by January 8. But Silbert struck out at Gemini, claiming that DCG had shared a proposal to resolve the dispute at the end of December, but had not received any feedback. Winklevoss is now urging DCG shareholders to fire Barry Silbert as CEO for allegedly defrauding Gemini investors. Silbert previously reported that Genesis suffered a $1.2 billion loss from the 3AC collapse. But Winklevoss alleges that DCG and Genesis lied to Gemini and its users about $1.2 billion to support DCG's continued operation of Genesis. In light of the public lie made to Gemini and its users, Cameron demands the immediate dismissal of DCG's board of directors, Barry Silbert. The dispute between Gemini and Genesis caught the attention of the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC. The agency formally sued both companies, accusing them of selling unregistered securities. The SEC announced on its official website on January 12 that it has accused crypto exchange Gemini and crypto lending platform Genesis of selling unregistered securities. The SEC stated that the product indicted is the EARN program, which has caused various discussions between the two companies for some time. Gensler shared about the subject on his social media account. The agency claimed that, under the law, Gemini's EARN program features a sale of securities. Gensler used the following statements on the subject. We argue that Genesis and Gemini are selling registered securities to the public, bypassing reporting requirements designed to protect investors. Today's accusations are based on our previous actions to the market and public that crypto lending platforms and other intermediaries must comply with our securities laws. As we have seen many times in the past, failure to do so prevents investors from getting the basic information they need to make informed investment decisions. Our work in this area continues. This is a law, not an arbitrary decision. On the other hand, Gemini co-founder Tyler Winklevoss argued that this action did not help further the company's efforts and reclaim the assets of the EARN program, arguing that the SEC's actions were completely inefficient. Stating that the EARN program was organized by the state of New York, Winklevoss said that it was strange that they had been in contact with the SEC for 17 months about the program and that despite this, the SEC had informed the public before they were accused.